I'm sorry, I couldn't think of a better intro. This peculiar little oddity of an HO scale train is brought to us by Varney. Varney was a pioneer in the HO scale market, advocating for the smaller train since their start in 1936. Varney is a manufacturer full of innovation in HO's early years, and they are best known for cracking jokes and making jabs at modelers in their kits. Varney's kits were pretty much just for experienced adult modelers, but it's pretty well known that kids, especially back in Varney's heyday, like trains. Well, kids, however, also like to wreck trains and break stuff. So Varney came up with a solution and produced this. What am I looking at? This is the Little Rascal line, a train and set of accessories introduced by Varney in 1958. From what I can understand, this line was only produced for 2 to 3 years at most, and this old print ad promoting the line suggests it may have been exclusive to a few retailers. The line included a basic 4-car train set, a locomotive, and 6 cars for separate sale, as well as a couple accessories like some cars and cattle. This line cannot have done very well, as there seem to be no photos of the cattle car, boxcar, or flat cars, as they may have never been produced. Alright, let's talk about this awkward little train. Varney calls this the wreck-proof train. No, it's not immune to derailments, but it's claimed to be tough. The 2-axle designs are most likely the first thing that grabbed your eye with this. Yes, these American prototype trains run on 2-axle chassis. Let's shake things up and start the caboose this time. The caboose body appears to be identical to the C3 Northeast steel-styled caboose that Varney was offering for over a decade at this point. Although a couple changes, the body is all plastic and is missing the handrails and ladders on the ends to make this train wreck-proof. The caboose is the only car in the entire Little Rascal line to never receive any lettering, and it only ever came in red. Onto the gondola. Once again, this shares its body with another Varney product, the G4 gondola, another car that had been in production for quite some time. Interestingly, this is the only car in the Little Rascal lineup to come in 2 liveries. You could get this as either black with Pennsylvania lettering or silver with Southern Pacific lettering. The last car I can confirm came out was this reefer. Unfortunately, I could not find one for this video, although it seems to be based on the RP101 reefer. It was only ever offered in orange with Pacific Fruit Express lettering and a UP shield. The locomotive in this set is a dead ringer for Varney's F3 locomotive, based upon the EMD locomotive of the same designation. The F3 was first produced by Varney in 1945, where it was actually made of die-cast metal. In 1955, the F3 would receive a new tooling with a plastic body. The body is identical to the plastic version, apart from the 2 flathead screws on the side holding the body shell onto the chassis. The locomotive was only ever painted in Burlington silver and red, and never had a windshield, even on the main Varney release. The cars and locomotive in this line ride on steel chassis with holes poked into the frames to put the axles through. The 2 cars have plastic wheels on steel axles, while the locomotive has all metal wheels. The cars have an XF2 styled horn hook coupler molded in a very soft plastic that almost feels like rubber. Varney claimed that these were NMRA approved couplers that kids could uncouple with a yank. Unlike a regular horn hook coupler, these did not have a conventional spring as the plastic was too soft. Varney rectified this with a small metal spring, although with time and play, some might have come out of their slot in the coupler itself. Popping the hood on the locomotive reveals just how simple of a train this is. It's literally the metal frame, 2 wires, and a motor in the middle with drive shafts going to rubber bands to drive the wheels. That's right, it's an old-fashioned rubber band drive locomotive, and there's just nothing in here, not even a headlight. Putting it onto the track, there's certainly not much to look at. It's an oddity no less, but how does it run? Well, it's a rubber band drive, as mentioned earlier, so does the name Hustler ring any bells? In other terms, it's fast. Fast enough to derail in a 24-inch radius curves. Much like the Hustler, this thing doesn't get great electrical pickup over switches. Unlike the Hustler, however, when this thing doesn't stall it over a switch, the rear axle tends to literally jump off the rails as we saw in that short opening clip. I'm not actually sure why this happens or if it's just my switches. It is, however, great fun when it jumps the track, so I'm not exactly complaining. The couplers on this train actually work fairly well. The soft plastic couplers don't impact operation as much as I thought they would have. But as I mentioned earlier with age, springs have popped out of the couplers, resulting in frequent uncouplings. Varney makes a lot of claims about this set, so let's put their claims to the test. First, high flange wheels make the train cling to the track. Well, we already obviously know that's not true on my setup, but that's most likely true for the original power supply. Little Rascal got power from a tube holding 4 what I assume are D-cell batteries. A D-cell battery is 1.5 volts, and if math serves me right, that's only 6 volts for the entire thing. I'm sure it'll cling to the track at low speeds that it would have gone back in the day, just not on my 16-volt transformer. Varney claims the all-wheel drive locomotive will muscle over a dozen cars with ease. Well, no. I understand I am using more modern cars with 4 axles, but they should roll about the same, if not better, as the ones that this set would have pulled back in the day. Now for the coupler claim. Varney claims that these couplers can be uncoupled with a yank. Yeah, they can. They will survive it. But I have my reservations about this since I believe this is most likely how my metal springs got broken. Varney's last claim is that the cars can be dropped. Well, yeah, they'll survive being dropped, but that's not really that special. I found a lot of old horn hook cars that can be dropped and they'll survive just as well. Old Marx cars and more recently model power cars survive very well being dropped. So, it's passed most of its tests. It's good, right? Well, let me just be a little bit mean to this thing. Who is this for? Well, children, obviously, but the Little Rascal retailed for $9.95 back in 1958. Why would anybody choose the Little Rascal over a Marx set from the day? Marx was offering a 4-car set in HO that not only looked more realistic with the handrails and 4-axle cars, but it cost $1 less and even included an uncoupler. If you need a better example, Marx was offering a 5-car tin plate set at the same time that was retailing for $9.97. Both Marx sets included controllers, looked better, and offered way more for your dollar. So Varney's Little Rascal is just really this one-off oddity that I believe deserves to be lost to time. It provided incredibly poor value when it was released and didn't last very long in the Varney lineup. All the claims Varney made about this set are pretty much true, but it's hard to argue with the very toy-like and charming Marx train sets that provided significantly better value at the same time. Because of poor sales and a short time on the market, the Little Rascal line has become fairly rare, but because it's rare doesn't mean it's valuable, and valuable is one thing that this train should never be.